Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dr. Doctor, the show where no topic is too hot or too cold. Whether it's politics, religion, relationships, entertainment, or everyday life, you will be hearing from the experts. This show is not for the faint of heart or the faint of mind. But if you want to be inspired, you have come to the right place. And now, prepare to be enlightened as we introduce the host of Dr. Doctor, Dr. Peter Tassi, and his close advisor, Dr. Fooch.
Welcome once again to Dr. Doctor. Unfortunately, we don't have Dr. Fooch with us today, but I want to talk to you about a topic that I think is relevant to not only us personally in our personal lives, but something that's relevant to companies and organizations. I want to talk today about leadership. You know, you look on the internet, you see 100 different models of leadership. You see all kinds of theories and ideas about what makes a good leader and what is good leadership. I want to present to you today a model that is a little bit different than what you'll see on the internet or what you'll find in books at the bookstore or library. I want to present to you a leadership model called Together. And it's a model based on virtues. It's a service-based model, which you see a lot of leadership models, some of them are service-based. And the one I present to you today is service-based with a focus on virtues. But first, let's take a look back in time. You know, in the old days, choosing a leader, people would spend a lot of time to find the right leader. They did it differently. When they saw an individual, one of their employees, who they thought would be a good leader, they would knock on their door and ask them, "We want you to be a boss. We want you to be a manager. We want you to be a superintendent." And I've seen situations years and years ago, decades ago, tells you how old I'm getting, where they would knock on the door of potential leaders and the person would say, I don't want to be a leader. I don't want to be a manager. And the company would say, no, you're going to be a manager. You're going to be a leader. Because they saw there in that person the potential for great leadership. And back then, it wasn't based on, all the leadership models you may be familiar with. It wasn't based on all the courses you took and everything else. It was based on the character of the person. And this leadership model I want to present to you today is basically that. Choosing leaders based on the character of the person. So you see how companies in the past and people spent a lot of effort and time into finding the right leader. They didn't just pick people because they've been around a long time. They didn't pick people because they said all the right things or threw the right spin on everything. They didn't pick people because they served on the right committees and went to the right conferences, or who were politically correct and said and did all the right things. They didn't pick people who took all the leadership courses. They picked people based on their character, because they knew that when you choose a person with great character, you will have greatness. And obviously it has to be someone who is respected by their colleagues and their peers. It has to be someone who has some vision and some management skills. But that wasn't the focus The focus for picking a great leader was the character of the person. And I think we've swayed away from that. We have gotten lazy in picking leaders. What we do now is we put an ad on the internet, or we post ads at work, or let people know. People apply, we read their resume, we have an interview, we pick a leader. But to get great leadership, you have to go out. I think that most of the time, you have to go out and seek that person. You have to find that person. And that's work. That's a lot of work. And this kind of effort, this kind of going out and seeking good leaders, the hard work involved in doing that, and your own personal turmoil in trying to choose who you think would be a good leader, and then approaching them and convincing them to take on this role, is a lot of work. And it's work that a lot of people don't want to do. Whether it's human resources, whether it's upper management, the executives, the board of directors, that's not the kind of work they want to do. But I think we have to get back to that a little bit. And we have to get back to taking the time and effort to finding people of great character. I've been fortunate in my life. I've had many different jobs, worked in many different places, and 80% of the leaders that I had were great men and women, really great. 20% were not great. And but back then, there was more effort into choosing leadership based on character, not based on who can swindle you in an interview, who can feed you all the BS you want to hear. There's some people that just master interviews. They've never mastered their work. They've never mastered their career. They've never mastered themselves. But they mastered that interview. And anybody who masters an interview and masters the way in which they conduct themselves, even though it may not be true to their nature, they put out, basically it's an Academy Award performance. Actors aren't restricted to Hollywood. We meet actors every day at work and all over the place. We meet actors, and they're good ones. And they can come into an interview or do a job on the climbing the ladder, and they can BS you and convince you that they'll be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And we buy into it. But what about their character? Have we looked at the character of the person? Because that is the door that opens to the soul of that person and will tell us whether or not in the long run they will make great leaders. In our society today, we're very tax-based jobs, so we can get away with a lot of bad leadership. You know, you look at how many people in our society today, which wasn't the case decades ago, but how many people in our society today are being paid by tax dollars. It's a big voting public. They're either, you know, they could be in education, they could be in healthcare, they could be in social services, the police force, the politicians, the masters of BS, the politicians. There's so many jobs now that are paid with tax dollars. So you can get away with bad leadership because the company doesn't fold because of it, or doesn't suffer to the same degree because of it. There's no profit margins. But the company will suffer in other ways. The organization will suffer in other ways if you have bad leadership. But it keeps going. It keeps, moving along because it's basically tax-paid jobs. And you don't have to be very good at what you do, and you don't have to be a person of great character as long as you follow the steps and you're politically correct and so on and so forth. But if you want real efficiency and you want the taxpayers to get the biggest bang for their buck, if you want your shareholders to make the biggest dollar possible, you will make the effort to choose people of great character to be your leaders. A lot of companies have such brilliant ideas, they come out with such brilliant inventions, that you could have a bunch of buffoons running the company. You could pick one disaster leader after another, and in spite of their bad leadership, the company will continue to do well and make money and make profits. But what you've done is you've minimized the profits, because the potential for greater profits is so much greater if you go through the trouble of picking great leaders. And it's the same with tax-paid organizations. If you go through the trouble of picking great leaders, it will run more efficiently. It will be more effective, whether it's healthcare, education, whatever it is. It will run a lot better if you go through the effort of picking people of great character to be your leaders, and not depending on, we get the money no matter what. The money keeps coming in. We make a mistake with a leader, no big deal. We'll just wait our time out till they retire, or we can bump them into a higher position, or whatever they do to deal with bad leadership. So I think that we've got to kind of we have to take on a whole new approach. We have to go back to the old days where we make a lot of effort in picking the great leaders. And so today, what I want to do is I want to present to you a service-based, virtue-based model on leadership. And it's called Together, Together. And if you'd like a copy of the paradigm, email us at drdrpodcast@yahoo.com, and we will send you a copy of the paradigm of this leadership model called Together. As I said, it's virtue-based and it's service-based. And it consists of 8 elements to choosing a great leader. 8 elements that exist in the character of the person who are great leaders. And I've seen these characteristics in the great leaders I've had. These are the kinds of characteristics and virtues that what I considered in my careers as great leaders. So let's go through them, and I won't spend too much time on them today. Like I said, you can get the paradigm by writing me at drdrpodcast@yahoo.com. And don't forget, you can also get a copy of The History of Time from the Big Bang to the Present in digital format, this book, by writing drdrpodcast@yahoo.com. So that's drdrpodcast@yahoo.com. I look forward to hearing from you. And I want to hear your comments about what you think of this leadership model. So we start with step number 1. And remember, it's called Together. So number 1, T, the ability to transcend self. Great leadership is seen in people who can transcend self, rise above their own ego, rise above their own needs, their own desires, for the purpose of serving others and serving the company. So that's element number 1. Transcend self, T. And the virtues associated with this ability, which not many people have. See how I'm talking about character here? Virtues like humility, truthfulness, and courage. The courage to rise above self for the sake of something greater, whether it's the company or the people that you're leading. Second step, O, together, second letter, O, the oneness of all. For leaders to see that it's not about cliques or who sucks up to me or who does this right and who does that right, and favoring one person over another, believing that one person is more gifted or has more to offer you as the leader than another. No, an attitude of oneness where everybody is on the team. And it's one team, one family. And this exemplifies virtues like universality, cooperation, and peacefulness. There's nothing worse than a leader who pits one group against another, elevates one person over another, treats one person more favorably than another. No, we have to have an attitude of oneness for all. The third thing we need in together, G, the ability to see the greatness in each person. And each person, we've all heard this 1,000 times. Everybody's great, everybody has talent, everybody has ability, and this is absolutely true. There's greatness in each and every person. But are you as a leader willing to make the effort to discover that greatness, to bring out that greatness in the person? It's work. You can't expect yourself to be in the position of leadership and the salary of a leader and the authority of a leader and not do the work of a leader. And part of that work is seeing in each person their greatness, and that takes a lot of work. And what virtues does this exemplify? Curiosity. Each and every person is a story for you to discover. Insight, the insight into a person, seeing beyond and below the surface. And having a heart of charity. To see the greatness in everyone, you must have an attitude and a heart of charity. Next, E, in together. A great leader is someone who empowers everyone. Not some people some of the time, but all the people all of the time. Empowering people, not undermining them, not patronizing them, not demeaning them, but empowering them, all in their own individual way based on their talents. This, again, requires a lot of hard work. And the virtues here that are part of a good leader to empower other people are wisdom, a sense of justice, and generosity. To give of yourself into this process of empowering others. Next in together is T, team building. So when we have this attitude of everybody is one, this is one family, we recognize the greatness in everyone, we empower those people to be great and to elevate them, we are able to develop a phenomenal team, a great team. And you see some of these characteristics in good coaches of football teams and other sports teams. When I played sports, a lot of the great coaches had a lot of these characteristics. And so consequently, the only thing that will win you games in the end is not one star quarterback or one great hitter on the team. It's a team working together like a family. And the virtues required here for team building is respect and gratitude and loyalty. These are the kinds of virtues, your loyalty to your workers, your loyalty to the team. This will bring out in people a real team effort. A constant expression of gratitude for who they are and a respect for who they are. This builds team building and brings out the very best in others. As you all know, during your term as a leader, you're going to run into a lot of people who are broken, because we all go through life with suffering. We all experience ups and downs. And sometimes life breaks us. And it's not usually something that happens for the rest of your life. It happens for a very short period of time. It might be a week, a month, a year, or even 2 years to recover. But a great leader will spend a lot of time on H, healing others, going out of their way to do what they can to heal people, to make them whole again, to make them better. And the kind of virtues here you'll see in a great leader are empathy, patience, and mercy. A lot of times you hear stories, the guy's in the hospital on his next to his death, and the boss comes in and says, "You're fired. We're letting you go." You know, these are real stories. We see people when they get sick as a weakness, and that weakness, we believe, will affect the company or affect us as a leader. But in reality, it's through suffering and through brokenness that when you show them empathy, patience, and mercy, when you work hard to heal them, they come back more loyal and a harder worker and a better worker than they've ever been. And this is not just for good profits and for good, efficient organizations. This is good for the human condition. Now, this doesn't mean that we have to put up with laziness or carelessness or total irresponsibility in people. We're not helping people when we do that. We're not helping the company. We're talking here on a kind of existential, which I think you get the drift here. So the next quality of a leader with great character, which ties into what I just said, is that they have the ability, E, to execute the vision. Everybody has a vision for their company, and a vision for their team, and a vision for individuals. We have visions based on many levels. And as a leader, we want to execute that vision. I mean, we want to do it whether we're a leader or not. We all want to execute our visions in life. But as a leader, we have a mandate to execute the vision. And that vision is usually spelled out in the mission statement and the vision statement of every company. But a good leader will work at executing that vision. They won't give up. They won't settle for second best. They will do everything they can to execute that vision in the confines or in the scope of this character we're talking about here, this person with all these great virtues. And the virtues that are part of executing the vision that we see in great leaders are toughness, diligence, and perseverance. They're tough, they're diligent, and they don't give up. And when our employees, when the team sees that in us, passionate about the vision, excited about the vision, and believing that as a team, that vision can be executed and realized, then everybody gets behind them, and it increases productivity, and you end up with great results. And finally, the last one, R, on together, this model, is realizing the results. So, you know, when it comes to realizing results, sometimes great leaders, no matter how much you do for them, no matter how good your work is, it's never good enough. But great leaders say, job well done. We have executed the vision. We have discovered our results. That we have actualized what our potential is. We have actualized what the vision was. And they give credit for that. And for those organizations or situations where it's not realized, the leader does not give up or become negative. They always remain positive. And they live with virtues like enthusiasm and prudence and hope. That let's not give up. All things are possible. And we will realize the results of our hard labor. We will see what can be done. What we've always believed in can be actualized. So this is, in a nutshell, is this leadership model called Together. It's a service-based, virtue-based leadership model. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's of some help to you. And write us at doctorpodcast@yahoo.com. Let us know what you think. Let me know if you want a paradigm or a chart kind of thing of this, an octagon. It's shaped in an octagon of this leadership model. And also if you want the book, The History of Time, From the Big Bang to the Present. And I look forward to speaking and hearing from you, and wish you well in all that you do, and never give up, and let's keep fighting the good fight. And we will see you next time in our podcast, Doctor. Thank you.